Hi students, I want to do a quick demo on how one might go about creating an animated GIF based on our week 2 assignment. So to begin, you want to follow the guidelines in the course. And what we have here is the prompt that tells us that we're going to be creating 5 animated GIFs using Photoshop. Each GIF will show examples of and define the following terms: tint, tone, shade, warm colors, cool colors. So I'm going to be sure I'm going to give you guys each a little background and overview of each one of these. Let's see if we can do like 16 point. Regular. So we have definitions so that you aren't confused as far as like what they are. And I have posted live session material where that defines, we go through and we define each and every one of those terms, which is so important to understand. Tints, usually slight pale or coloration of a hue. It will go from 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80, 90, and then 100%. I like to show that by sharing. See if I can share the desktop here so it's not so confusing, right? So you can see what a tint is by me going in and a 10% tint. And then that's 100% of the hue of the yellow. Now, I think previous to this, I didn't have any black in it. I was trying to show a shade, but if you add black, that becomes a shade. So if I add 20% black, then that yellow becomes a shade because it's 100% yellow with 20% black incorporated. So then we're starting to have like a shade. So that's another thing you're going to want to communicate in a second GIF. Your first GIF is going to be tints. Second's going to be tones. Your third's going to be shades. Your fourth is going to be warm. And then your fifth is going to be cool. And warm and cool might have the same definition, just so you know, within the file. That's totally acceptable as long as you show, demonstrate within your animated GIF the differences, okay? All right, so that's what I'm about to do for you right now to give you a little help in accomplishing that goal. So your Photoshop file will be 3 inches by 5 inches. So go to Photoshop. Let's see, I've got 3 inches by 5 inches. I'm gonna go ahead and I'm going to trash all of these. I did a demo earlier, so I want to make sure that you understand. Oops. There we go. Delete all of them. So we start off as a singular file where one would go File, New, and then you would allow it to default to 3 by 5 inches. You would be okay with the resolution being 72 pixels per inch or DPI, which is standard. PPI, DPI, dots per inch, pixels per inch. Let it default to color mode, RGB, and then background white. And just say create. You'll get something like this. The next thing you want to make sure is that you have your timeline showing. If you don't see it, you want to go to Window, Timeline, okay? And then it might have something like Create Animation or Frame Animation right here. If it says Create Frame Animation, click on it so that you get this timeline with a frame. Now, I have 0.5 seconds on there because my very first frame, I really don't want a whole lot of stuff showing. I'm going to ease into it. So the first thing, and the design and everything else is up to you, but I'm going to show you how to functionally get some of the stuff that's required in your document. And so for number one, what you want to do is you want to add in a title that says tint, because that's one of the many, you could choose tints, tones, shades, and warm or cool colors. I'm going to add tints. Okay. And so I'm going to add that here, but I want to keep in mind, I want to be mindful that the frame animation right now has nothing, which is good, which is fine. I'm going to add a second layer, and then I'm going to add a second frame because I want it to be kind of quiet before the headline falls in. See, and so now I have a second frame, both at half of a second. And then I'm going to go to my text tool. And sometimes when you click on the text tool, it creates a brand new layer. Sometimes it defaults onto that layer. I'm just going to let it default onto the layer that I'm at, and I'm going to paste tints. Tints. I don't know why it's showing this weird. I don't know why it's showing this very weird dot. That was weird. I'm going to zoom in a little. Okay, so sometimes it creates a second layer, so I'm just going to delete that first layer and do this. I'm going to enlarge it. Looks like it's about 36 points. And see, if you notice it's on both 1 and 2 frames, I'm going to move it because I want it to kind of fly in from the left. So what I want to make sure is on my first layer, it shows this. My second layer, it shows this because I made changes on my second layer. I'm going to go back to the first layer, just turn it off entirely because I want it to kind of come in on the second layer. I'm going to see now on the second layer, I have it visible. Now I'm going to add yet a third layer, and I'm going to have it moving in even more. Now, one thing you might want to do is hold on Shift, click and drag so that it's, and I'm going to add yet another layer. Hold on Shift, click and drag so it comes in exactly that I want, the way that I want it. The next thing that I want to do is I want to add a definition to tints. The definition is a usually slight or pale coloration of a hue. Now, you can define it, you can Google it and define it however you want. That's what we're going to use for this. Okay, and so the next thing you want to do is you want to add another layer, and I'm going to make sure that I'm on the type tool, and I'm going to click, and I do not want it to be that large. I'm going to shrink it to about 12 point, and then I'm going to do Command V to paste. I'm actually going to make sure everything's selected. I'm going to make it a little smaller, 11 point. I'm going to move it to the place I like it, close underneath the title. So I'm going to go back to my first frame. I don't want it showing on the first frame. Second frame, I don't want it showing. Third frame, do not want it showing. Fourth frame, do not want it showing. Then I'm going to create yet another frame. This fifth frame, I want it to show. So now I'm going to add another frame, and you can name these along the way. This can just be background. This next one can be headline. This next one can be tagline, define. This last one can be wait a minute, I don't know if I have this. Okay, so there's nothing there yet. So we're going to do this as swatches. Swatch 1. We need 5 swatches according to the requirements. So if I put all those in incognito mode, I know that this is going to be my swatch. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to, on this last frame, I'm going to make sure I've got 5 swatches, and you can do this however you like. I'm going to do it that way, and I'm going to use the color. I'm going to do a 100% cyan color for the fill. I'm going to add that cyan color to my fill because I'm showing tints right now. So I'm going to show 100%, 80%, and we only need 5. So 100, 80, 60, 40, 20. You can add a 0 if you want. But anyway, to fill the space on the swatch, I'm going to do an edit, fill, or I'm going to do a quick command key, which is option delete, and then command D to deselect. So I'm going to, this is on my swatch 1. I have everything viewing on my swatch 1, everything here, but now I know I need to go back here. I do not want this swatch viewing on these previous spots. So if you just do this, you can kind of get an idea of what your frames look like. And then I'm going to add another layer. With everything showing along with that tint and that swatch. And then I'm going to do an option click and drag. Oops. Oops. Option click and drag. So that's another swatch. I want to go over here and turn off the swatch so that we only have it here in this last frame. Okay, which is fine. You might want to create yet another frame where this one's showing. So you can see the progression here. So I got a second one showing. So the second one I want to highlight, command click on the actual thumbnail to select whatever's there. And then here, well, I love 100% cyan. Now we're going to do the 80%. And then I'm going to do an option delete to fill it. The other way to fill it is to go to edit, fill. And then you're going to fill with the, you can blend or you can fill with the, I'm going to do the foreground color. I already had it like that. So command D. So let's see. We want to do yet another frame. I'm going to do this, another frame. But yet I want to do yet another layer. It's got all the contents, but on the second layer, I want to go back and do an option click and drag. Sorry. Got to go back here and select, command click. And then on this new layer, I'm going to do an option click and will it let me? On this, an option click and drag. Okay, and so we've got two. So if we go back to the timeline, we've got nothing. So we really don't want to show that one on the timeline. The second comes in, that's what we want. Third comes in, that's what we want. Fourth, one swatch, two swatch. And then of course we want the third swatch here. Okay, so I'm gonna do an command click to select it. And now I don't want it to be 80, I want it to be 60%. Option delete to select it. The next thing I want to do is yet option click and drag again. We need 5 of these. Option click and drag yet again. So you can do this however you want. They can be smaller swatches, they can be huge swatches that come in at a certain percentage. But what we want to do here is we've got 2, timeline. Okay, 2. Okay, so nothing, tints, the headline comes in, it's fully in. Then the first swatch and the definition, you can do them in 2 different frames if you want. Second swatch, third swatch. And then there's going to be another swatch. Fourth swatch, another swatch, fifth swatch. Now the fourth swatch down below, I'm going to select it. We've got 80 or 100, 80, 60, 40. It should be 40 and it's 60. So you do 40, fill it with the 40, command click, and this one would be 20. And then you're going to do option delete. That's filling with the 20%. So there's lots of interesting things you could do here, but I can then hit play and see my entire animation kind of come into play here. Tints, I usually slight or pale discoloration. It shows the percentages, and you can even include the percentages in your titles, which I started to do here, but also as you animate it. So this is one of 5 animations. So yes, it's kind of a long piece of work. Note that I have them all at 0.5. So you can use this as a template. You can do the same one over and over and just change it. Go in and change your type from tints to tones to shades to warm and then to cool. But you have to illustrate that using the swatches, and they want 5 swatches. So in the end, you want 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 swatches. So to be able to add those animations both in the frame and within your layers is great. You can add frame layers if you want. I think this gives you a little more flexibility. So the way that I showed you and just demoed this might be very helpful. So good luck, and let me know if you have any questions, but there are 5 different animated GIFs required. For example, this one will be saved. You're going to want to save this as. Save it on the computer, and you can, of course, save it as your, I think it's a save for web is what you really want. File. Save it as a GIF for now. I would go ahead and select web, forced web, transparency, matte, and then say okay. Okay, so save every single one of yours, but you're gonna wanna also save it as your DS116 color theory. Okay, and of course, then go ahead and save it as your animated GIF. The desktop, make sure your name's on it, the assignment, use GIF. And then there you have it. Try to do that for each one of the 5 animated GIFs that are required for this week 2 assignment. Let me know if you have any questions. I may do the same demo in the multi-session on Thursday, which is scheduled for 6:30 a.m., which is also 9:30 Eastern Time, 6:30 Mountain Time. I hope that helps, and best of luck this week. I'm here to support you if you need me. Just connect with me, okay? All right, take care.